Welcome back to Conversations with Angie Everhart. It always sounds so funny when I call myself Angie Everhart, that girl.
But it is you.
It is me. And we're in the studio today with a new friend of mine, Sue Laguna-Whang.
Yes.
And this is a woman, when you look at her, the more you watch her and the more you listen to her speak, the more you listen to you speak, you get more beautiful.
Aw, thank you.
As I was saying, we're just looking at you with the light test. I was like, you could look good in a trash can. You're so pretty.
Well, you're the same. Actually, better.
Yeah. Well, you're just a very sweet and kind and funny, and wickedly funny woman.
Yeah, that's the most important part, the wickedly part. Yeah.
So I could call you a community organizer.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
why is that?
Recently, my family moved down from New York City to North Carolina, and since we've been there, I've realized that it's very important to give back. And so I've started working in different ways to do things within the community, just to community organize. So yeah.
And it's so much fun to give back.
It
I
is,
think
yeah.
it's when I first got cancer, I didn't realize that I was more about the modeling and
Right.
in life inside of my life.
Right.
And I got cancer and people started being very, very kind, and
Right.
the empathy reflected. And I realized that I wanted to spend my time after everybody was so kind to me and paying that forward.
Yeah.
And so hence this show. And this show is part of the reason that I'm doing that, is because I want to pay it forward in a positive and inspirational way. So when you say you're a community organizer and you're also a teacher.
Well, substitute teacher. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a new development, but yeah. So I was community organizing. I was working with my children's school to do something we do every other year called Global Week. And we did last year an entire week around global health and education. We did a deep dive into all aspects of that for every student from TK up to 12th grade. It was pretty amazing, and I loved doing it. And to see that spark in the students' eyes when they realized that they could potentially have impact and not just going the way of medicine. There's so many other aspects where you can give back and help. Right. Yeah, help globally.
Yes.
So that was one of those avenues of how do we inspire kids to think just beyond what they, may get that's already prepackaged.
Is it do they win something? Do they bring something to the table? Do they have their own ideas, or how does it work?
Yeah. So it was very experiential. So we had different events every single day, and it was see, touch, feel, hear, learn, but, not in a typically classroom fashion. So it wasn't teachers or people just telling them things. It was them actually experiencing them for themselves. So we had things like, a healthy lung versus a smoker's lung and things like that. And we had...
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, we had...
I want that for this desk. For all
No,
my
you
smoker
don't.
friends.
Yeah, no, you
For all
don't.
my smoker friends, I want to put it out here and show you how bad smoking is. I tell my son, I'm like, I'll give you a car.
Yeah.
If you don't smoke. He remembers that.
He'll hold you to it.
He will.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, it was great.
That's really inspiring, because, you can't learn something unless you actually, you can.
Right.
But when you actually feel something yourself.
Right.
Because people always remember how you made them feel rather than.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. So we landed an ambulance helicopter, emergency helicopter on our football field. And the idea behind that was
so cool.
Yeah.
So so cool.
When I was setting
Were
it
you
up,
in the helicopter?
Well, no, I didn't go in the helicopter. That would have been great to fly down and land in the middle of a football field. But it was amazing because when I was setting it up and I was talking to the coordinators at the hospital group, the pilot said he became a pilot because somebody had landed a helicopter in his high school.
That's cool.
And he thought that was just fantastic. So the whole idea was, you say to the kids, you may not want to be a doctor. You could be a flight nurse. You could be a helicopter pilot and get to places, forest fires or emergencies and, help people. So it was one of those nonlinear thinking things. And it had really good impact with kids.
Well, it's about as powerful as you can get, seeing a big helicopter land. And, I think one person can inspire so many
Right.
people.
Right.
I, I I did auto rotation one time. I don't know if you know what that is. They actually turn the motor off and it goes in auto rotation. And so the helicopter floats down.
Oh.
And I've never been so scared in my life because I was going to get my pilot's license. And I was like,
wow.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, that seems
It scared
scary.
me
Yeah.
so bad. But he did it on my first lesson. I think if the guy had just waited just a little bit before doing auto rotation with me,
comfortable first,
get
and
my
then
confidence up. But landing in the middle of a field, all those kids are seeing that and like, I want to save lives. I want to go there.
Yeah.
And I think, so you have how many kids? You have
I have
two
two
kids.
children. Yeah. I have an 11-year-old girl and a 13-year-old boy.
And they're, because I know mine's very green and
right.
Are yours like that too?
Well, so they're very different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're similar in some ways, but like every kid. And I am a firm believer in birth order and how that affects personalities, because I've just seen it so many times, and I have conversations.
What do you mean by that?
So there's certain traits that you seem to see more in birth order. So your firstborn can be, you know, a rule follower and things like that. And your secondborn, you know, as you have more children, they progressively get crazier. I'm the only daughter and the youngest of a family of 3 children. So, you know, I definitely have the crazy gene. But,
okay, so I'm the youngest of 4 boys.
Yeah. So you get it.
And then me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, we weren't.
Sorry, Mom.
We weren't quiet, right? You know, our lives were not quiet.
No.
Nobody ever hears about our siblings because we were the ones who are in the spotlight. And,
right.
you know, being like the last born. So my son, he is an ethical vegetarian and has been since he was 11.
Why is that?
We were on a spring break trip to Costa Rica. It was the last day. We had 4 hours to get to the plane. And I said, let's just go walk on the beach for the last time. And we're walking along. This is a crazy story. We're walking along and we see these little crazy, like, bivalve cuspid things. I don't know what they were, but they were kind of breathing and getting in and out of these little shells. And I said, oh, look, they must have been beached. Let's throw them back in the water. And my son, Julian, you know, was really intent on making sure that none of these things suffocated.
Aww.
So he wouldn't move. And I said, Julian, we got to get in the plane. We're going to go walk to the end of the beach and then come back and get on that plane. And he decided to just dig his heels in. He was not moving. And I said, okay, here's what's going to happen. Your sister and I are going to walk on the beach. And when we come back, we're going to pick you up and we're going to go to the plane. Because I know at a certain point, you know, when a kid doesn't want to do something, you have to, you know.
You're going to have to pick him up screaming.
Right. And
we got to go.
I don't want to miss the plane. I want to get back. So we go down to the beach and then we come back and the beach is curved. So we were gone like 20 minutes. And as we're rounding close to him, we can see him. It was like a scene of a movie. I start running to him and he starts running to me and I open my arms wide and he jumps in my arms and he's crying. And I said, Julian, were you afraid because you couldn't see us? And he said, no, Mom, I couldn't save them all. And I was like, oh no. Oh no. Yeah, it was heartbreaking.
Oh, that's so sweet.
3 days later, he said, Mom, Dad, I'm not eating anything that had a heartbeat.
Wow.
So, and that was 2 years ago. Yeah.
And so does he make his own food?
He does.
Oh,
I have a freezer full of faux meat, like every type of fake meat you can imagine. I have it in my freezer. He's really good about, you know, it's so funny because that
is awesome that he has actually stuck to it and not just been a week after vacation, you know, and then went. Well, because a lot of kids will say, you know, well, my son wants to be a pescatarian right now. So we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you never know. Mm-hmm. So my daughter saw all the attention that my son was getting. She said, well, I'm going to be vegetarian too. And, you know, she
I think
was
that's
good.
Great.
Well, it was funny because then my husband and I were splitting a plate of ribs at the table. You know, my son's eating his
very
veggie.
Encouraging,
very
Sue.
encouraging. We were supportive, but we're not going to change our lifestyle. You know, we will cook for him and make sure that he has what he needs, but we're not going to stop eating the ribs because, I mean, ribs, right? So we were eating the ribs, and then my daughter looked at me and she said, she's 3 weeks into being a vegetarian too. She looks at me and she says, Mom, if I eat one rib, can I still be a vegetarian? I said, well, no, but go ahead. She downed 5 ribs in that one sitting. And that was the end. Yeah. So she tried.
Yeah. Well, kudos for her, but it wasn't her quest.
No, it wasn't. No.
It really wasn't her quest. She was just
not.
Feeling out, you know, what her brother was doing.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, he really had an aha moment
He did.
very early in life. I mean,
Yeah.
that's very rare.
Yeah, he's a tender-hearted kid. He's a very sweet kid. Yeah.
Yeah, my son's a pescatarian. I think it kills me too, because I mean, they're so cute at that age.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Okay. The one thing I always say is that somebody think about your life.
Yeah.
And there might be one or two or three.
Yeah.
About your life on where you made a left turn that ended up being the right turn. It's choices in your life that are the inspiring moments. So it's like what your son had happen.
Right.
That was his moment.
Okay. Yeah.
But as adults, we have 1, 2, 3, 5 of those in our lifetimes that really change your life.
Right.
And what the first one that came to your mind? What was that?
I think it was moving to the South. And so I'm from Toronto. I lived in New York City for 14 years. I've lived all over the world. I have a very international family. My husband included. He's American, but his family's Korean, so he's Korean American.
Hence the Whang.
Hence the Whang. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Laguna is my dad from Spain. My mom's from England. I've got everything. So my kids are North American Eurasian, which when you're living in New York City or a place like that, it doesn't even register, right? Because
it's cosmopolitan.
Yeah, you walk down the street, nobody looks at you twice. There's no comments.
Right.
My kids were born in the South. We live in Charlotte, North Carolina now, and when they were young, I used to get comments all the time. Are you the nanny? Or where did you get your children from? Things like that. So that was a little bit hard to swallow and kind of a shock. Yeah, and I realized
you're like, no, they came out of me.
Yes, I've definitely been more blunt than that on occasion.
Have you?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. You pushed me. Yeah, pre-coffee. I will say anything.
So what's the worst thing you've ever said?
Well, so my go-to was always, they came from the sovereign republic of my womb. But I've definitely said they came from my vagina. Would you like to see the scar? Yeah. Because they did,
There's something about that word vagina that people, every time I do pictures with people, I say to them, say vagina, and they laugh. I don't know what's funny about that word.
Do you remember being on set when they would make you talk and it was always peanut butter? Did you ever do that? No.
Oh, because it makes you smile.
Peanut butter. Yeah.
No, I always tell people, say vagina, and people, they start laughing.
It's the shock value. Yeah. Yeah.
So continue with your story.
Yeah. So I realized that, it was a different world at that time. And I have to say that Charlotte's gotten a lot better. Mm-hmm. But it was just a culture shock for me coming from big metropolitan cities, where it just wasn't an issue, to a place where I was receiving these questions.
Okay. So did you feel left out? Because your kids look Asian then?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you feel left out when you're out with your family, so that you're the different one?
I did dye my hair brown for a little bit, just to fit in. Yeah, and I've done that on occasion because I'm very fickle with my hair color. It'll change all the time.
I wish I could be.
Don't ever change your hair.
I'm not going to.
Yeah. But I think what you realize is that you don't see that after a while. You just see your family, or my husband is my husband. He's not, to me, he's not an Asian man. He's just my husband.
Right.
My kids are, my pride and joy. So,
and that's the way that I feel like everybody should look at people.
Right.
It's just, we are people. We are one. We are,
true.
Michael Jackson said it, right?
Yeah.
We are one.
Yeah.
It's Michael Jackson, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we went down this road of just trying to figure out,
I think he said, we are the world.
We are the world.
We are the world.
Yeah.
Isn't that it?
We are.
No.
Get into it.
Children, yeah.
So I've always been interested in identity. Actually, I'm going to backtrack and give you the beginning of the story. I'm Canadian. I grew up in a really small town outside of Toronto. Mm-hmm. My parents are European, and we were the only ones, except for the two Chinese families who own Chinese restaurants in town, that were different. So we weren't the multi-generational apple farming families that were in the town that I grew up in. So I always had that little bit of an outsider thing. And then
well, you don't look like an outsider, though.
So that's the funny thing, is that people think I look like a fox news
You
bobblehead,
do.
right?
You
I
look
do.
like Christy Brinkley.
Well, I'll take that any day of the week. Yeah. Yeah. So people have assumptions about me because I'm blonde and light eyed and, you know, I look like, you know, the typical quote unquote American woman. And,
Right.
you know, I'm not. I'm nothing like that. So I've always had these thoughts about identity.
You're a
and what
short
it is.
Jewish man. And
I'm a short, yes.
And you're
Yes.
in the inside.
I'm just a mensch. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So just that journey is, you know, thinking in the back of my mind about how it was affecting my family, about that idea of being other. And then I had some things happen just living in North Carolina that really gave me pause. We were moving places and I had moving guys and they were like wonderful, two big black guys, gorgeous guys, great guys, big, strong guys. And we're on our way up to move things out of our prior house. They called me and said, you know, we're hungry. We're going to stop at this fast food restaurant. So I said, okay, I'm going to come in. I'll pay for you because you're moving my stuff. So we're going to, you know, I'll obviously
get your lunch.
Yeah, right. It's the least I can do because you're, you know, working hard and I'm just
heavy load.
Yeah, I'm just telling you where to put things. So we sit down and, you know, I'm sitting at the table with them and a blonde lady, yoga pants, two big black eye mover guys. And everybody in the restaurant stopped and looked at us, which was such a shock for me because
Why?
Well, they were uncomfortable with the blonde lady with the two big black guys.
Oh.
Yeah, it's small town, you know, and it was just I looked around and I said, "Is this kind of what happens to you all the time?" And they said, "Yeah, this is our life." And it was an eye-opening fact to my own privilege, and I am not afraid to use the word privilege because I absolutely see it now like I never did before, and that was the pivotal moment for me. So, you know, we go on, and with that knowledge, I've carried it forwards, you know, and I just think about that with what my friends deal with, you know, all of my friends, people of color, you know, their lives are different, and, you know, I just don't think about things that they think about. Even with my own kids, you know, they have to think about things that I think about them for them, but they'll experience them in a way that I never will. So that's been, you know, a big thing for me is just being cognizant of that and moving that forward in my life. And then a few years ago, my husband said to me, you know, we should really start looking into charities that help international children in our local area.
I love that.
So a week later, you know, Kismet, a friend calls me and
Seriously?
said, yeah.
I love when that happens. It's like it's meant to be.
It was meant to be. My friend called and she said, will you chair this luncheon for Charlotte Bilingual Preschool?
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And I said, absolutely. You know, we were looking for something and then it just kind of appeared. You know, ask the universe and it will give you what you need.
It really does. It's a fun, but be careful what you ask for. But.
True. Right. Well, and then no good deed goes unpunished, but you know, that's a separate conversation. But so we're
talking about inspiration.
Inspiration. Yeah. The good stuff. The good stuff. Yeah, so I got involved with Charlotte Bilingual Preschool, and it's just been an absolute...
Charlotte Bilingual Preschool.
Charlotte Bilingual Preschool.
And so what do they do?
So it is...
It's obviously bilingual, teaching kids different languages, or teaching other kids to speak English?
So it's, twofold. Actually, it's grown a lot since I've been involved with them. So we do a lot of things now. But one of the best things about them is that it's not just child. They actually have classes for the parents as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so ESL classes and computer classes and life management. They have classes that are for...
I need that.
We all need that. I know. I was like, this is amazing. I could have used this all times during my life. Yeah, so it's. I love what they do with the parents and the whole family and building communities because this is for Spanish-speaking children. So,
you know, there was one guy. Sorry, this reminds me of something.
Yeah.
What you're saying is, I had a guy who said to me after I had my son. He said, "Angie, I'm going to give you the best advice that anybody's going to give you. Organize your son. Teach him how to stay organized."
Yeah.
And what you're talking about just kind of reminded me of Bernie, of this guy.
Yeah.
What he said, and kind of like that resonates with me. And that's the whole thing is that you can say one thing to inspire everybody out here.
Right.
And what you're doing right now is inspiring all these children to become better organized and, you know, successful people in the community.
Right. Right. Well, what they found was that children who are native Spanish speakers in the States, if they don't have access to learning English early, they fall behind their peers when they get to reading in kindergarten and up to second grade. So they fall behind, and then they can't catch up. So in order to keep them on track, you have to make sure that they are comfortable by the time they get to kindergarten with their English language. So that's what the school does. They have one day in English and one day in Spanish. There's another class.
And it's easier to learn languages when you're little.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're like a sponge, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's such a fabulous place, and I feel really, really #blessed to be a part of it.
Well, speaking of blessed, I'm very blessed. We're going to have to take a break, and we'll come back with you, Sue. You're so wonderful.
Thanks.
And we're going to have a word from our sponsor.
When it comes to keeping my smile white, I only trust Oral Gen New Pearl Advanced Teeth Whitening System for sensitive teeth. With no harsh chemicals or peroxide, New Pearl offers a unique 99% natural formula that delivers professional results previously only available from your dentist.
Save 50% now on the New Pearl 32X Teeth Whitening Kit. Satisfaction guaranteed or your money back. Visit oralgen.com/livewithangie to order now.
So welcome back in the studio with Sue Laguna-Whang.
Hi.
Do you go by all of it? Do you hyphenate?
No, I did it purposefully.
Okay.
So yes, it is hyphenated, but I did it purposely because when you have biracial children, you want to make sure that they're not pigeonholed into one thing or the other.
Okay.
And because my kids look more Asian than they do Caucasian, I wanted to make sure that nobody just made that assumption. So it was for them. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just like to, make it difficult for people when I'm writing it down. It's a lot.
It's a lot to type.
It's
too.
a lot to type. There's a lot of vowels. Yeah. And then the hyphen screws everybody up. Yeah. But,
Okay. So when you were a model in my generation.
Yeah.
If you had to give somebody some advice.
Oh, I have plenty of advice to give.
Let's hear it.
So much advice.
Let's hear it.
And it's
funny. What would be the best advice?
So, and I'm sure that you have friends who say, look at my daughter. Isn't she amazing?
Yes.
Help me out. And I tell people all the time, there are some things that I wish that I had done. So hindsight 2020, my life wouldn't be where it is right now had I actually done this. I mean, I probably would have been personally more financially better off, but I maybe wouldn't have the family life that I'm, that I love. So, trade-offs. But absolutely get to know your agents really, really well. Well, first of all, find a good agent that's not going to scam you. That's, we should all know that by now. But keep track of everybody on the crew, make those connections. Keep track of your bookings and your money, where everything's coming with. Treat it like a business.
Keep track of your money.
Keep track of your money. Yeah.
Yes.
First of all.
Never sign
anything.
anything.
Never sign anything.
Unless you know what is being signed. Don't let other people sign for you. It's more better advice.
Yeah. Take control of it. Yeah. Make sure you use a lawyer, do everything, on the up and up, because I think we start young and we get wrapped up in the ego and the pride of it and, the glamour, and it's amazing. We're on a plane here, there, and everywhere, and everybody's telling us we're amazing. You're gorgeous, beautiful. And so you get wrapped up. But if you don't keep your head on your shoulders, it can get away from you. And really just treat it like a business, because that's what it is.
I call those big hair moments.
Yes.
And one of my girlfriends, do you remember Roberta Cherco?
No.
She had more covers than Estelle. I think Estelle has more than her.
Yeah.
But she discovered me. Yeah. And, so she saw me from the very beginning, and she said to me one day, she's like, ew, you have big hair. I was like, what's that supposed to mean?
Right.
And I'm showing up in my Mercedes with my Chanel bags and my big hair. And she was like, ew. And I thought about that, and it hit me so hard that one of my peers that I respected said, you're stuck up.
Oh.
Get grounded.
Yeah. Well, you
and
have
it
to.
Hit me.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to be part of the team. You can't be. It's funny because I'm sure you've had those moments too where you're on set and somebody's not doing something and you're like, well, I'm the model. You should make me happy. But really, you're the product. You should be making the client happy.
Well, we come from that generation, though, of making, it was a different world back then. It was. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
Because we had to entertain everybody on set.
Right.
And I don't think that modeling is like that now from what I hear.
Yeah.
I mean, I do a lot of spokesperson stuff still, but, and I get there and people are like, oh my God, she really knows how to move.
Right.
Photographers now are say, move your left hand here.
Right.
And teaching girls. So, I mean, if I was going to give advice, I'd be like, know your craft.
Yes, exactly. When I first started modeling, it was in South Beach, Miami in the early 90s. And my agents just said, go to the beach, watch the girls move, watch how they do it. And that's how we learned, and then doing it ourselves. And yeah.
Did you do a lot of fashion shows?
I didn't. No, I was too curvy. Yeah. Boobs and hips.
Ralph Lauren always told me my boobs were too big for him. Maybe it was just an excuse. I just didn't fit his clothes.
Yeah.
I just wasn't.
Well, it's amazing how we heard that from different people.
Right.
That's why I always worked really well in Italy and I never worked in Paris because I like food.
Well, and that's why they loved Kate Moss.
Yeah,
I mean, she crushed she crushed my career.
Yeah.
I was doing like 19 shows in Paris, and then all of a sudden,
waifs.
5.
Right.
When she came to town.
Yeah. Actually, I was working. This is another crazy, terrible story, but I was working in Japan and I got the contract while I was in Italy. And I got there and I hadn't really gained that much weight. And, when we're talking about gaining weight in our industry,
oh, yeah,
it's not,
we're already really thin.
Right. So I was, maybe 6 pounds heavier than when they saw me in Milan.
Oh, boy.
So I get there and I work the week, and if you're working in Japan, it's crazy because, the hours are nuts. And,
that's one place I never went as a model to work.
Well, I was too tall, so I probably shouldn't have been there in the first place. But it was a great experience, but it was also a little bit nuts. And, luckily I have that confidence and it didn't get to me.
Right.
But they kicked me out. They canceled my contract because,
wow.
Because I wasn't what they thought they were getting, which was fine because I did.
Which was what? A girl that was 5 pounds lighter?
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly. Right. And maybe they thought I was shorter because all the, the sleeve lengths were too short, whatever. So I go into my agency and
sorry for laughing.
It was nuts. And
it's, it's the model perfect, right?
Yes. Model perfect.
Can't take it personally.
And they were lovely about the whole situation because I'm sure this happens all the time. And the owner of the agency looked at me and she said, you know what, Sue, we really just like our girls to be anorexic.
Ooh. Well, then you didn't feel so bad?
No, I walked out with my head held high. I was like, well, I'm healthy. I don't have that issue. So if you want the girls who are anorexic, then go for it. But that really, really stuck with me for the rest of my life.
I think that's changed. I mean, the girls are really skinny. I mean,
Right.
they went to a phase after our generation of girls to a phase where literally the girls' legs were as big as my arm.
Yeah.
And I remember going to Luca's fashion show at the plaza. And I was looking at my arm and I was looking at these girls' legs and I was like, man, I'm glad I'm not a model now.
Yeah, it's tough. Right.
Because it was tough staying skinny then.
Right. Yeah.
Let alone this skinny.
Yeah, it's tough. And, everybody always asks that question, do you see a lot of issues, in the modeling world? And honestly, I think because we were so young and just our metabolisms were high,
right.
I didn't, we did see issues, but the majority of the girls were just that skinny. But after us,
right.
I don't know how I don't know how they did it. I don't know how they do it.
They starved.
Yeah,
they did not eat a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't eat for a week before I went to shows.
Yeah,
I mean, literally would not eat.
And then you feel faint and you don't feel good. And then, it's a lot.
It was, just was what it was. Because if you weren't that skinny, then you weren't doing the shows.
Right.
So that's what I did.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I've got a lot of health problems today because of it. But, today's models are bigger than they've ever been. And they have laws now in Milan. And they've changed it so that, that it isn't so unhealthy because, I mean, it got to a point where, people don't understand. I mean, when I say they were that skinny.
Yeah, I've seen them, skeletal. Yeah. Yeah, I love how the industry's changed to be more inclusive. Not only of size, but of age, and
gender.
And gender.
Yeah,
and,
I agree.
Yeah, and background.
I get asked that question a lot. What do you think of that?
Yeah.
And
Bring it.
I'm like, whatever tickles your pickle.
Right.
Whatever. I mean, it's so funny saying, speaking of sayings, do you have a motto?
Oh, I do.
You do?
I do. And it's applicable to so many different regions of your life. So you have to get ugly to get pretty.
Ooh.
Yeah. I live by it. And it's funny. So it began in the modeling world because when you're sitting in the makeup chair, there are times going through the process, you look in the mirror and you're like, what is happening to my face? What is happening? And if you're building a house, it's a
Right.
mess. Like,
Right.
if you're having children, it's a mess.
The calm before the storm.
The calm before the storm. So, to get to that place of nirvana and zen and just, like, this is a great, beautiful place, you got to get ugly. You got to
gotta
put the work
shed.
in. You got to shed. Yeah. Yeah. So you got to get ugly to get pretty.
Mine was, you live like a man, love like a woman. That's what it is.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I think I did that.
So, modeling
Yeah.
it's the only job. You said this
I
yesterday.
did. Yes. Yeah.
You said this. Say it.
So
Which is
it's something
pretty
that's
cool.
It's carried me through because,
You
we've
know where
had-
I'm going with
Oh,
this too.
absolutely. Yeah. We've had so much inequality, right? Gender inequality and
You read my thought.
I
I didn't
was
even have
right
to
there.
finish.
I
I didn't
was
even have to
right there.
finish that
Yeah.
sentence.
It's one of the only professions where women make more money than men.
Ka-ching.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
nice because, and people look down on the modeling industry
Yeah, they do.
sometimes,
Right.
but it really forwarded me to speak another language parce que
Right.
je parle carrément, fluent French.
Yeah.
Do you speak French? Do you speak another?
Yeah. Je suis canadien, je parle français.
Ah, tu parles
Oui,
français?
Oui.
Ah, génial. On peut faire l'interview en français. So men, sorry, I was almost lost my train of thought. I went into into the French mode.
Like,
I went in,
really?
I think languages are different rooms in your house, and French
Yeah.
to me is like in the bedroom.
Oh, that's good.
English is in the kitchen.
Oh, I was going to say Italian's in the kitchen.
Well, I don't speak Italian.
Oh,
I wish I did.
yeah.
I understand a lot of Italian.
Yeah.
My Italian friends really want me to speak Italian.
Yes. Yeah. Drink enough Italian wine and you'll get there.
How many languages do you speak?
Well, I don't have fluency in anything, but my dad's from Spain.
English?
So yeah, English, on occasion I speak English. After coffee, I do. So I can get some words out in English.
Right.
I speak some Spanish and some Italian and French. And I can read Portuguese because the Romance language. So
Oh, nice.
which I didn't realize until I was looking at a Portuguese newspaper one day and I understood it.
Right.
So I was like, oh, it must
Latin.
be Latin. Yeah.
So, is the charity work that you're doing
Yeah.
with the Spanish helping? Is it helping your Spanish?
So I'm a very shy speaker.
You are?
So it's right. You think that I'm one of those extroverted introverts sometimes,
It takes you a glass of wine to warm up.
or
maybe.
yeah, much better after a couple
Or
of glasses
four.
before. Just give me the bottle.
Come
it's
here,
fine.
somebody get her a glass
Yeah.
of wine, please.
Well, it's tough when so when my parents are immigrants, obviously, like I said, and when you have immigrants, I realized that you have two types. There's the ones who assimilate and then the ones who don't. And the ones who assimilate,
Right.
you end up losing the language.
Because they
So-
only speak English
They
to
don't
you.
speak English, right?
Right.
So with with an English mother and a Spanish father, my dad always spoke English to us. I had to learn Spanish on my own. So I heard it growing up and I could understand it a little bit, but it was really when I started working and living in Spain that I picked it all up and realized, I need this to go forwards. I was getting my hair done at a salon in Spain, and the woman, when she found out that my dad was Spanish and my Spanish was so limited, she started berating me and yelling at me, how dare you? You're a Spanish woman, you don't speak anything. And I was like, well, it's not my fault,
Right.
So, yeah.
Do you speak Spanish at all with your kids? Do your kids speak
My
Spanish?
son is learning Spanish in school. So, no. We're just gonna, no.
Well, I don't speak.
No.
I try to speak a little bit of French with my son, and I've taught him quite a few funny things, which I probably shouldn't teach him, but he thinks they're so cute because there's a way of saying merci beaucoup,
Right.
or merci beaucoup.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And I always say that because it's saying thank you, nice ass, basically. And people always think that you're making a mistake. So it's like saying thank you, you have a nice bottom. And I told my son that one day. I said, I'm saying thank you, you have a nice butt. And he thought that was the
hysterical.
funniest thing in
Yeah.
the world. He's like,
Yeah.
you're not saying thank you very much. I said, well, it sounds very similar,
Right.
but
It's the nuance.
but it's the way you say it. And I said, and if you say that to French people, they will laugh.
I taught my
Mostly.
son to say Scheiße, which means shit,
Shit.
in German.
Scheiße.
Yeah. So yes. So and it's.
I think you can say that on here.
Yeah, I hope so. You can just bleep us out.
Yes.
so I said, in lieu of saying a bad word, just say that. So he said that in his French class one day in 3rd grade or something.
Was she a German woman teaching French?
So her dad is a German teacher.
Oh,
Yeah.
it didn't go over well.
No, it did not. Did not. But I take the blame. So yeah, I'm sorry.
Are you very liberal when it comes to letting your kids like social media, and how do you educate them with that?
So my son's 13, which is how old you have to be to have an Instagram account, and I just allowed him to because he's a skateboarder, and I thought I can monitor that, and it's pretty easy. So that's really it. It's funny because I'm very liberal on some things and really really conservative on others, and I think that's a product of our lives, because we were on our own, living in a suitcase on an airplane, traveling the world, and we had to take care of ourselves.
14.
And we saw some crazy things.
I mean, can you imagine letting your 14-year-old go to New York by themselves?
No.
I could not do it.
No.
Not today.
No. So I have a crazy story of something that I did when I was 18, when you should know better. I was booked to do a show in Panama, the country, not Panama City, Florida.
Right.
They were doing, right.
There's a huge
difference. So we get there, and it's all these models who have a Hispanic heritage. So being that my dad's in Spain, I qualified. We get there, and it's all these Latin American designers. It's a big, it's all over the news and everything. It's really highly, everybody's talking about it. And I meet these 2 guys, and they said, well, let me just show you around. So I get in a Jeep with these 2 guys that I just met, and nobody knows where I am. This is pre-cell phones, pre-GPS. I'm going through the rainforest in Panama with these guys.
And Sue disappears.
That could have happened. And we get back, and it just comes out that one of the guys, it was Manuel Noriega's nephew.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is why I'm really conservative with some things and really liberal with others.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I could have been gone in a heartbeat, and nobody would have known.
And I'm sure they thought about it because she's really pretty.
Well, they were really sweet guys.
Yeah.
And you're invincible when you're 18. Nothing bad can happen to you, and you can do whatever you want, and you're fine. But yeah.
Where'd you go with them?
We just went like in their Jeep. I mean, top down, driving through the rainforest and looking at the monkeys and looking at the canal, and went back into Panama City.
That's neat.
It was such an incredible experience, and I'm so glad I had it. But on the flip side,
well, he's not Noriega, but he's
and he said, it's okay, we don't like him either. So I mean, I was like, okay, phew. But it was such a crazy.
I've met members of the Bin Laden family.
Oh, great.
I have. It's,
Yeah. We have that access, and so then we become parents, and we have our own children, and you really have to walk that fine line between letting them explore and be independent creatures and just keeping them in the bubble and safe, because you've seen crazy things and you've had these experiences and you know what could go wrong. So you have to, let them be, but make sure they're okay.
I even do that for real with my son. If he's having a bad moment or having a bad day or woke up and had a bad dream, I put him in a bubble.
Yeah.
And we talk, and he just has this sweet moments. But if he gets scared, which is one of my least favorite things in the world to be, and I'll put him in a bubble.
Aww.
And with that nobody can get him.
Yeah.
Nobody can get into the bubble, but mom.
Right.
And he's some pillows, and it sounds kind of goofy, but
no, but they need it.
But if, when I do it, he relaxes and he pictures the bubble, in his own way with all the different pillows.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, what color are the pillows? They're usually purple.
Okay, good.
Because he's a purple tiger.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to switch gears here a little bit on you. What is if you had a aha good moment in life like that, what's your most amazing thing you've ever done?
Oh, that's a lot. I've been really lucky. I've had a lot of great experiences, but
okay, top 3.
That's putting me on the spot. Let me think. Just a lot of things. I really enjoy just traveling.
I do too.
Yeah, I'd love to be on an airplane.
How many passports do you have now?
Well, I have 2. But
how many have you?
Oh, have I?
Have you given up?
Oh, yeah, plenty.
I think I've got 7 filled, stamped,
yeah.
and I kept a whole bunch of them. I
Yeah.
was so proud of them because they,
Yeah.
they don't stamp anymore.
Right.
I was so sad when
Right.
they stopped doing that.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, can't you just stamp it?
I know. Well, that's what Instagram's for. That's my stamp now.
I guess.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's not the same though.
No, it's not the
It's a
same.
book, and that's public.
Right. Right.
This
And when
was-
you have the visas on them of things. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Well, what's the coolest place you've ever been?
Oh, that's another good thing. I can't do the top things because it's always in the moment.
First minute, the first thing that came to your mind.
Yeah.
I know I've been
There's
to a lot of
I
places.
know,
Did you
it's
have
tough.
a favorite vacation?
Well, the Costa Rica trip was actually really great with the kids. When we travel with the family, it's very like beachy and, catered and upscale. But when I travel just me with the kids, we go on adventures and do crazy things. So,
I love
I
that.
love to do that.
Me
I
too.
love to get my hands dirty. I don't need it to be fancy. I just need it to be, hyperactive and adventurous. And
Have you ever been skydiving?
I have.
Yes.
Yes.
Nice.
So the crazy
I
thing
like you even more.
Oh my God. I was mad when they pulled the chute. It's just,
Oh,
I
then you
know.
have to do it by yourself.
no, I have to do it tandem because then I won't pull the chute. The free fall was so
no,
much
you will.
fun. I
You
don't know.
will.
I was
You
mad.
will.
He pulled it and I was like, I wasn't ready. I was loving the free fall. I'm afraid of heights, but
It's not heights.
no, it's not.
I have about 350 skydives.
Oh, that's
so I travel. I
amazing.
took a year of my life
Oh, wow.
and went skydiving all around the world. I
Oh,
was like, I
that's
was burnt out
incredible.
from modeling and
Yeah.
needed a break. And
Yeah.
that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, it is.
I used to say that skydiving is the most fun you'll ever have with your clothes on.
True. Yeah, with extra clothes on
with your clothes, the most fun you'll have with
Yeah.
your clothes on.
and a backpack.
Yes, you have to have that.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. You should try it by yourself
should.
because you will pull. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
human nature to want. I mean, you might forget because you're having fun.
Yeah.
But they have what they call as an RSL. It's an explosive device. If you're still doing terminal velocity
Right.
at where you should be pulling,
Right.
this
right.
will explode and
Okay.
your reserve will come out.
Oh, see, there you go. So I don't need to pull
So-
it at all. It just happens for me.
Your reserve's out, your main's still packed, but
Yeah.
if you have a problem with that one, you're screwed.
And my son wants to do it, and I said to him, you can only tell me after you've done it. Don't tell me beforehand. It's so
He
funny.
has to be 18.
Yeah, you have to be right. So when he's 18, I said, you can do it. Just tell me after. We have these different rules for us versus our children.
Right.
Yeah.
Do as I say, not as
As
I do.
Mhm.
Do you really though?
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's still this whole,
They're kids.
they're kids. You gotta protect them, and I'm invincible.
Well, I think we're so experienced
Yeah.
and that we've seen so much that
Right.
you want to protect them as
Right.
much as you can.
Right.
But I don't make Caden eat any food that I don't like.
Yeah.
I'm kind of
Oh, yeah.
that mom.
Exactly. I agree.
If I try it and I don't like it,
Yeah.
just because it's a vegetable doesn't mean that
Yeah.
he has to eat it.
Right.
Because I'm like, oh, I don't like it either. Sorry.
Well, food should be joyous all the time.
I
So,
think so. I'm a
yeah.
foodie.
Yeah.
I like
Me
food.
too.
If you can't tell. I like food.
I like food too. Yeah. It's a good thing.
You can come back anytime.
Thank you.
I would love to talk about charities and kids and just keep bringing you back and having
love
you
to come
come
back.
and chat with the world because the world needs to have more Sue in their life. when I'll give her a couple glasses of wine next time.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you'll see the devil in Sue.
And we really have the bleep button going. the whole
That's
time.
okay. I'm good with that. But you're very inspiring and you're
Thank
a
you.
wonderful mom and a role model and
Good.
a role model to your community. So keep up the good work.
Good. Well, thank you for having me.
And where can we reach you on social media?
Instagram. Yeah.
Okay.
It's at SLW.
At SLW. How'd you
Yeah.
get that one?
Well, it's Sue Laguna-Whang. I just switched it. so-
SLW.
Yeah.
That's short. Wow.
well, that's actually, we should check that. It might be at Sue Lagu. So,
Okay.
yeah, let me check it. I don't know.
Okay.
I just switched it.
And your charity?
Charlotte Bilingual Preschool.
Charlotte Bilingual Preschool.
Yeah.
So can people donate
Yes,
there?
absolutely. Yeah, if you go on the website, charlottebilingualpreschool.org.
Okay, so we'll post this. We'll put
yeah.
it up and
Yeah.
we'll hopefully you'll get some people who can donate to the bilingual school.
Yeah, we're coming up on our 20th anniversary, so a lot of celebration this year.
Oh, that's
Yes.
fantastic. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sue.
All right,
Thanks for
thank
coming.
you.
Thanks for joining me. See you next week.